The Revelation Explained by F.G. Smith, Chapter 2, Part 2. The Letter to the Church at Smyrna. We begin with the book of Revelation, chapter 2, verses 8 through 11. And unto the angel of the church in Smyrna write, These things saith the first and the last, which was dead and is alive. I know thy works, and tribulation, and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews, and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. He that overcometh shall not be hurt of the second death. We continue now with the commentary. Smyrna was situated on the bay of the Aegean Sea, its beautiful harbor rendering it from time immemorial one of the most important commercial cities of Asia Minor. History does not inform us when the gospel was first introduced in this city, but at a very early date a large congregation existed there, with the venerable Polycarp as its pastor. He suffered death by martyrdom under the reign of Marcus Aurelius about A.D. 167. In each of the 7 letters to the churches, Christ introduces himself by some appellation significant of the character he assumes toward them. In this, he styles himself, quote, the first and the last, which was dead and is alive, end quote. A fact very important for that congregation to remember during the great seasons of persecution and oppression through which they were to be called to pass. Against this church Christ has no words of condemnation to utter. All is encouragement and promise. Their condition of poverty is mentioned. It is probable that this very poverty arose because of their accepting Christianity and taking joyfully the spoiling of their goods. For it is a well-known fact that when individuals embrace Christianity in an idolatrous land, they are disinherited by parents, cast out by relatives, and denied public employment. Even the community refuses to associate with them or to render them assistance in any form. Their means of subsistence is thus cut off, and they are harassed in every possible manner. Perhaps this is the very trial of poverty the church of Smyrna passed through. But Christ declares that they are rich. Yea, God hath, quote, chosen the poor of this world, rich in faith, and heirs of the kingdom which he hath promised to them that love him, end quote. Reference from the book of James, chapter 2, verse 5. Their enemies may think that they have reduced them to a condition of wretchedness, but in this the persecutors are mistaken. God says the righteous are rich. A certain writer has remarked, quote, there is many a rich poor man, and many a poor rich man, end quote. The blasphemy of opposing self-styled Jews is next mentioned. In all probability, the term Jew is applied in its spiritual sense. Paul declares that, quote, He is not a Jew which is one outwardly, but he is a Jew which is one inwardly. End quote. From the book of Romans, chapter 2, verse 28 and 29. And that, quote, if ye be Christ's, then are ye Abraham's seed, and heirs according to the promise. End quote. From Galatians chapter 3, verse 29. These persons professed to belong to the true Israel of God. Reference from the book of Galatians chapter 6, verse 16. But they were without salvation, and the Smyrnian church would not recognize them as belonging to the congregation, and therefore the only name that could be applied to them was the synagogue of Satan. Had they been tolerated in the assembly of the righteous, Christ would have condemned or rebuked the church for not performing that duty, the same as he did the churches of Pergamos and Thyatira. Great persecutions for the church of Smyrna are predicted, but he which was dead and is alive forevermore, having passed through the ordeal of suffering and death himself, stands in a position to speak words of comfort and consolation, assuring them in the strongest terms that, although wicked men and the devil may cast them into prison and persecute them unto the death, yet, quote, he that overcometh shall not be hurt of the second death. End quote. The overcomers are of the number of those who, having had, quote, part in the first resurrection, on such the second death hath no power. End quote. From Revelation chapter 20, verse 6. The 10 days doubtless are prophetic time, which will be explained later, and signify 10 years, which was probably fulfilled in the terrible persecution that began under the reign of Diocletian and continued 10 years, from AD 302 to 312. The subsequent history of Smyrna has been different from that of Ephesus, in that it has retained its name and importance until the present day, being the greatest commercial city in the Levant. It has a population of more than 200,000, several thousand of whom belong to the Greek and Armenian churches. The light there has become dimmed, but let us pray that God will soon remember the faith and perseverance of his ancient servants, and again trim the lamps that once shone so brightly.